in the case of domestic violence, violence, now basically, domestic violence is any form of abuse that a person, be a child, a man, or a woman, faces at the hands of someone else, a relative, a friend, or any other person. Now, over the years, it has been postulated that violence primarily affects women. But research has shown that in one of 7 men in the United States, according to um, the National Intimate Partner Sexual Survey, one of 7 men in the United States have been affected by domestic violence or sexual abuse by a partner they were intimately in their lifetime. So then, what is the ideology of domestic violence against them as to the society? Now, societal beliefs come here and there, and you would agree with me that it has been perceived of the society that men are aggressors. And as such, being aggressors, it is normal that they are predators looking for prey. You can also agree that there is a false image that holds a man where whatever allegations that are made against him by a woman have to be seen, and the society solicits for the woman's behalf. But then what happens when you say, I was assaulted by a woman as a man? How does it affect your status? What stigmatization comes with it? What ideologies come to looking at you? What entitlements are falling from your priorities as a man? How does it make you feel on the inside? How do you face people on the outside? These are what the topics I want to discuss today. Now, basically, um, let's go with child abuse, for example, right? When you hear a case of child abuse, you then feel disgusted. Why would a man bring a child of 10 years, have an affair with a 14-year-old and you're 67 years, and you're going to be behind prison? You have never for once heard that a woman was, in fact, convicted of the crime of assaulting a man. Because it is assumed that the man should be assaulting a woman. Now, we all heard of the case of Hakimi and his divorcee wife who tried to get fortune from him after the divorce. Now, that's one of the rare cases where the plot schemes of women failed against their men or their husbands. There are more of these schemes and there are more of these examples. There are more scenarios that go on in everyday society that we do not hear about. And why it is why? The constant belief is the man should be the head of the house. Well, that's cultural belief and that's stereotypical. Because yet, as men are head of the houses, there are still people that live under the shadows of their wives or their spouse. I say financially non-buoyant men. I say men that are fragile on the inside. I give men that have size difference between themselves and their spouses, the man of 5'3" and the woman of 6'2". Now, this is intimidation. Intimidation that comes from size, from status, from employee status, from influentiality. Most of these things are not seen wholesomely by the entire public. So then, what are the consequences at home when you are a man that has been involved in domestic violence? One is stigmatization. Imagine walking to rehab and saying, I need a doctor. I need to see a doctor. I'm traumatized. And what are you traumatized about? You should be hearing something like, oh, I lost a friend to a car accident, or a friend of mine died out of drug overdose. Now imagine me seated here as a doctor, and the man walks in and he says, Doctor, I was abused by my wife. The first thing that comes to my mind is, are you playing a game with me? Or are you trying to hide true intentions to why you're here? Is this an alibi? Is this something you're trying to build up as to your own offense, to what you might have committed? Now, this is the practical the state of mind of everybody. By default, a man should not be assaulted by a woman. Now that's where stigmatization comes in. Because he walks into the hospital, he walks to rehab and he says, I was attacked by my wife, my spouse, or I was attacked by a girl on the streets. I was attacked by a female general. And it comes with this look of disdain. How can you be attacked by a female? What advantages does she have against you as a man? How does this question your physicality and your boldness to say, I am a man? What level of testosterone do you have that makes another woman more physically advantageous? What home training do you have? What happened to your background, your chores? What is this a visual reality game? Is this a simulated experience? Permit me, it might be a psychology experiment to see who believes what. But then, what if it's true? How hard is it for you to believe that a man was in fact assaulted by a woman? Weeks ago in psychology class, you did hear the man who was suffering bitterly and every day he was being pushed by his wife. Why? Because there was a size difference. He was here and she was there. There are more experiences, there are more examples that tamper with the state of mind of men and that lead them into frustration. So we're talking about stigmatization, we're also going to talk about frustration. Because who believes you that you were assaulted? Who believes that you were bamboozled, beaten, and whatever it was? Now, how to go about all of this? Do you seek redress? Do you get a lawyer that convinces the jury that you were assaulted? What evidence do you have that you were assaulted? Matter of fact, what do you hold to ground that you were assaulted? I leave this to all of you to decide. The one thing is for sure, domestic violence is terrible to whoever the victim is, male, female, or child.